Then now follows a party political broadcast by the SDP Liberal Alliance.
Look, this isn't the first of the Python repeats. It's a party political, so I'll give you 5 seconds to switch over. Okay, well, for anyone left, here's some Alliance propaganda. Or with me doing it, impropaganda. So, let's have some jokes. Did you hear about the local council spokesman who said we have a policy of equal opportunity for people with criminal records? Then there was this local council that stopped its libraries from buying certain books. And what did they stop them buying? Fiction. You know the council that fired someone for racist body language? Well, now they've got over 100 teacher vacancies. Don't worry, though. To make up for that, they're planning to hire about 200 advisors on racial equality. To all you teachers, take Bromley Council, please. The proportion of under 5s they educate? 1%. Seriously, though, we've heard a lot about extremism recently. A nastier, harsher atmosphere everywhere, more abuse and bother boy behavior, less friendliness and tolerance and respect for opponents. All right, but what we never hear about extremism is its advantages. Well, the biggest advantage of extremism is that it makes you feel good because it provides you with enemies. Let me explain. The great thing about having enemies is that you can pretend that all the badness in the whole world is in your enemies and all the goodness in the whole world is in you. Attractive, isn't it? So, if you have a lot of anger and resentment in you anyway, and you therefore enjoy abusing people, then you can pretend that you're only doing it because these enemies of yours are such very bad persons. And that if it wasn't for them, you'd actually be good-natured and courteous and rational all the time. So, if you want to feel good, become an extremist. Okay, now you have a choice. If you join the hard left, they'll give you their list of authorized enemies. Almost all kinds of authority, especially the police, the city, Americans, judges, multinational corporations, public schools, furriers, newspaper owners, fox hunters, generals, class traitors, and, of course, moderates. Or, if you'd rather be an extremist on the hard right, no problem, fine, you still get a lovely list of enemies, only they're different ones. Noisy minority groups, unions, Russia, weirdos, demonstrators, welfare sponges, meddlesome clergy, peaceniks, the BBC, strikers, social workers, communists, and, of course, moderates. And upstart actors. Now, once you're armed with one of these super lists of enemies, you can be as nasty as you like and yet feel your behaviors morally justified. So you can strut around abusing people and telling them you could eat them for breakfast and still think of yourself as a champion of the truth, a fighter for the greater good, and not the rather sad paranoid schizoid that you really are. And all this explains what we've seen at party conferences. Everyone's sitting there looking grim and bored, and then a speaker gets up with real fire in his belly as well as dyspepsia, and he says, "The other party really are the most awful bunch of rotters, the most left-wing or right-wing bunch there's ever been in this great country of ours, and it would be a disaster if they ever got into power, or held on to power. That's all, we must get into power, or hold on to power, but there's going to be a tremendous fight, a terrific struggle, and we can't relax and enjoy ourselves. No, we must struggle and fight and fight, and struggle and struggle and struggle, and fight against these enemies, and then struggle a little bit more at the end of that." And then the speaker goes and sits down, and there's a lovely warm glow throughout the hall, as if they'd all had tea and crumpets. And everyone looks relaxed and happy and simply radiant with goodwill. Although, if the speaker had said, "We must all have lots of fun and be nice to each other and cooperate in solving problems," they'd probably have lynched him, or deselected him, or taken all his directorships away. Because attacking our enemies always makes us feel good and excited. In fact, just about the only disadvantage to extremism is that it can never solve problems. But then solving problems is a real bore compared with hailing victory and swearing to smash capitalism and crush socialism and generally feeling good. I mean, solving problems involves frustrating things like listening to people with different views and learning from them, which of course breaks the first rule of British politics. No other party's ideas are any good. Then, the other irritating thing about solving problems is if the solutions are going to work, they've got to be fair. Well, ask any businessman, he'll tell you a good deal is one both sides can accept. If not, it won't work. But this means that you've got to be fair and balanced, and that breaks the second rule of British politics. Parties represent special interest groups. How can Labour reform the unions when the unions give them 90% of their income? Of course the Tories will reform the unions, but they'll allow self-regulation for the City of London, which gives them a lot of their money. It's a giggle, isn't it? And these two rules are exactly why so many of our problems are not being solved, because the old British system has been the seesaw. First Labour, then the Tories. No continuity of planning, from nationalisation to denationalisation to renationalisation to privatisation. And the rest of the time producing those farmyard noises we all know and love from Prime Minister's Question Time. Well, the Alliance is going to change these rules. First, we'll use good ideas wherever they come from, and we'll say when we agree with other parties. For example, we agree with the Tories that we shouldn't disarm unilaterally, although we don't think we need to buy Trident. We agree with Labour about the need to increase public spending to reduce unemployment and to salvage the National Health Service. We agree with the Tories about the need for profitable industry and to encourage enterprise, although we want to share the profits around more. And we agree with Labour on the need to invest in education, although we will pay more attention to raising standards. Second, we'll try to be fair and balanced between capital and labour, workers and management. After all, we are not owned or funded by the unions or big business. And also, we'll try to get the balance right between being tough and being tender. And finally, in a balanced parliament, the SDP Liberal Alliance is ready to work with either of the other parties. Of course, the Tories and Labour say they won't work with us. Well, no surprise. They like the seesaw. The only thing they've agreed on the last 5 years is they don't like us coming in and breaking up their private little power game. But if you want to end the seesaw, if you want balance and cooperation, please support the Alliance at the next election. And not just at the general election, but at the local elections on May the 7th. All right, time for more local council jokes. Do you know what flag the Hammersmith Town Hall was flying recently? And here's the hall in Scarborough, where the local Tory council banned a conference. The reason? The people going were gay. Oh! And here's Dundee's town hall in 1980. Recognize the flag? No? Well, it's the PLO's. Now, here's how the Alliance would get rid of extremist councils. A simple answer. Yes, it's dear old proportional representation again. Now, the effect of introducing PR on extremist councils would be happiness, because PR stops that kind of thing at a stroke. So, if you want to get rid of extremism in local government, vote for the SDP Liberal Alliance on May the 7th and add to the number of councils where the Alliance is either already in power or shares control. Not bad, eh? And if you can find one extremist action from that lot, I'll buy you dinner. And just to cheer you up, as you won't be getting dinner, the number of Liberal and Social Democrat councillors in 1977, 900, in 1982, 1900, in 1986, 3,000. Looks as though the time's come.
If you disagree with extremism in our local councils and want to see an end to seesaw politics, please call 0800 400 400. That's 0800 400 400. Or write to Dr. David Owen, the SDP, Free Post, London SW1P 3BR.
That was a party political broadcast by the SDP Liberal Alliance, and it'll be shown again at 10:20 on BBC Two.